Welcome back to my YouTube. It's your girl Honey. Today we're talking about having your Pluto in the 7th house. Now it's so weird because you know what? I've not been on YouTube for about 2 weeks, and this is very unusual since I've been on YouTube. This is the longest I have not made a video. So I've had a shitload of stuff happen over the past couple weeks. Like my laptops broke. I had to buy 2 laptops. Okay, I also got burgled. I got Mars going through my 7th house. I've got a whole bag of shit going on around me. Pisces is Pisces season right now. I've got Pisces stellium happening, and all I want to do right now is just be in solitude. As a 12th house person, solitude is very important to me. And right now that's all I want to do, but I'm being attacked from different places, and there's hidden enemies, bro, being revealed to me right now. So I'm just trying to keep myself to myself, but people keep coming for me, and I'm a fucking Aries, so this is what I do. Okay, I always fight back. But anyway, Pluto in the 7th house, people. What can I tell you about Pluto in there? Now, Pluto is ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio is home to the 8th house. The 8th house represents crisis, death, rebirth, intimacy, sexuality, other people's resources, joint finances, inheritance, trauma. The 7th house is home to Libra. Libra is the co-ruler to Venus. The 7th house represents other people, us, we are, bonds, keeping bonds with other people, marriages, partnerships, legal binding contracts. It's a very important house, and I love to see when there's planets in there and listen to how people deal with other people around them. But when Pluto falls into this house, it is very, very interesting. So I'm part of the Pluto in Scorpio generation. I think that ranges from 1983 to 1995, if I'm correct, I think. When I think of Pluto in the 7th house, what comes to mind is Heidi and Spencer from The Hills. Like, I don't know why, but they have a very entwined relationship. Like, they do everything together, and it just seems like they come as two, not as one. They're not individuals. And the 7th house represents we are us. You know, it's about me and you, and it's very intense. And you know, that's what they come to mind whenever I think of, you know, the 7th house Pluto. It's very, very, very weird. People who have their Pluto in this house, there's going to be a lot of issues regarding you and other people. And this is not just your partners. This is not just, you know, your business partners, but it's also your friendships as well. The people that are around you, as it is the house that represents you and other people. Okay, so bear that in mind. Now, a lot of you guys have trust issues, man. Like, and it's not just like, oh, I don't trust that person because, you know, they betrayed me before. No, it's like you are wary or suspect of everyone around you. And it's because Pluto is all about secrets, and, you know, you are someone, when you have Scorpio, when you got Pluto in that house, it's all about investigating, getting to the depth of everything. So you're meeting someone, obviously you don't know anything about them, you know, but that makes you feel uncomfortable as hell. So that person is a suspect to you until you know enough about them. You guys fear being betrayed so much, and it's almost like it's self-destructive in a sense, because you fear being betrayed, but you don't realize that a lot of the energy that you don't like is the same energy that you possess within yourself. And this is more of a subconscious thing. So a lot of you people may not even be aware that you are actually like this. Like, it all depends on how evolved you are. But a lot of times I find, you know, 7th house Pluto people are not always aware of their own energy and how they perceive themselves to others. Taurus on the rising is ridiculously possessive of, you know, whether it be people, it's their things. Taurus energy is that way, period. Okay. And the same goes for Scorpio. Scorpio energy, very, very possessive over their partners, but more so possessive to an obsessive nature over their partners. You know what? When you got malefics in your 7th house, and one of my friends has her Mars in her 7th house, and she's always getting into some type of situation with someone, but she's also a Pluto dominant person. A lot of her situations can actually come from her not realizing how she's coming across to other people. It's very similar to having your Pluto in the 7th house and not being completely aware of how you're coming across to others. So because Pluto is here, you're going to run through a lot of confrontation, man. Like confrontation, not just in your relationships, but very much around with the people around you. Even Mars being in this house as well, same sort of thing. Just confrontation type of energy. And you know what I've noticed as well is because this is the house of relationships, a lot of Pluto in the 7th people look at relationships based off how they saw their, my hands are so cold, I'm sorry, they base their relationships a lot. They tend to base their relationships a lot from from witnessing their parents. And a lot of times they would have experienced seeing a lot of like arguments, like Pluto crisis energy in their household, or to do with their parents, or being around a couple that just don't seem to get on, you know. And if that's not the case, then that's how then a lot of times the relationships can definitely be very intense, very like it's me and you against the world, very Bonnie and Clyde, more so in a sense where Bonnie and Clyde were actually Libra and Aries, you know. Mad. I think Bonnie was a Libra and Clyde was Aries, if I remember correctly. But anyway, that's a whole different story. So anyway, it's very likely that you could be in a relationship that's very, very intense, very violent, very traumatic, very aggressive. And this definitely depends on who the other person is, because you can be with people who are really nice. Based on you having Pluto here, it's kind of advised that you date someone who's not intense. You know, you date someone who's very easy, very laid back, and someone who makes life easier for you, because your 7th house is who you tend to attract, right? And as much as you guys say, I don't want to be with someone who's secretive and who's like this and who's like that, if Pluto's in that house, then you're most likely going to end up attracting a Scorpio person. And Scorpio is all about the intensity, you know, the possessiveness and the secrets. And they are also afraid of betrayal. And you want to be, it's kind of best that you try not to date someone like that. Because the same way that person can be intense, you having Pluto in your 7th house, that makes you just as intense, trust me, because you don't believe people straight away. So you see someone, okay, I like him. However, I need to know more about him, but I don't trust him, but I want to know more about him. So how do you go about that? I have seen it, people. This is not for everyone, obviously, but a lot of people have literally created like fake social medias, Instagrams, Facebooks, whatever, to catch their partner, like do a whole catfishing, just to see if their partner would cheat on them, just to see if their partner's trustworthy or whatever it's like. And that is a very sly thing to do, right? You guys don't trust people, but you will put yourself in a situation to look as though you can't be trusted either, if that makes sense, because you did all this to catch someone out. It's all about catching that person to almost prove a point. So when I'm saying it can be self-destructive in that sense, yeah. You guys, like I said before, with the friction and the confrontation with a lot of people, like when you're with someone who's not giving you enough information, or someone that just genuinely makes you feel very uncomfortable because you don't know enough about them, because it's all Scorpio Pluto, like you cannot help but to literally find out more and more about that person just to put you at ease. And some people, not everyone is an open book. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone's easy to read like that. So this is where the confrontation comes out, because it's like, I can't trust you. I gotta keep you at a distance because you ain't, giving me enough. You're not giving me enough information for me to feel comfortable with you. But that's the thing. You don't give enough information out either. What's interesting as well is I don't get a lot of reading requests from Taurus risings, like not a lot, but I get a shitload from Scorpio risings, like so many. There's this like feeling of Taurus risings or Pluto in the 7th house, a lot of them, not everyone, all right? But a lot of the time, because people who can be seen as psychics, readers, people that may know way too much about you before even actually knowing you. That's very concerning for Pluto 7th house person, because they don't give out a lot and they don't like to share too much, because they actually have a lot of that Scorpio energy embedded in them anyway. So when they meet someone, this is why they have a lot of like, they don't always tend to like people that, you know, has the advantage of knowing more than what they know. So they tend to stay away from people like that, if that makes sense. But at the same time, Pluto being here, you guys can attract a lot of stalkers. You know, I've seen it, man. People just, you know, going places where they know that you're going to be, watching you from a distance, and, you know, like just doing really stalkerish, obsessive things, because that's the thing. You guys may not go to the extent, right, and randomly stalk someone. You guys may not do that, but you guys may go to the extent and do something else, like stalk from social media, maybe, you know, going way outside your ex-boyfriend's house, you know, just to see if he's going to come out. Like, trust me, I've seen this shit before, but it doesn't mean that everyone's like this, or I'm just saying. Now, because Pluto is very, very deep, all right, it's very likely that you guys will end up in very deep, intense relationships, because it's almost like it's very important to you, you know, especially if Libra is here. Like, Libra is at home in this house, so relationships are going to be almost like a necessity. Like, you have to go through these relationships, and it's like Pluto by itself is transforming, is all about transformation anyway. With Libra being here, you're gonna be someone who takes a lot and learns a shitload out of your relationships. It's like you find yourself through your relationships. It's mad, because relationships sort of become your life, you know. I really should look at Hardy and Spencer's synastry and just see exactly how they interact with each other. But, you know, Libra being here, Pluto being in this house, it's your relationships become your life. Like, you can't do anything without your partner. It's very intense. Like, you know, what's her name? Kim Zolciak from Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm sure I've mentioned her in my videos before, but she can't do anything without Corey. Oh my God, it's like Corey this, Corey that. And she's a Taurus sun, right? She's very possessive over her partners. It's very typical it's very typical for Taurus, rising Taurus energy, to be very possessive over their partners. Possessive is very close to being vengeful as well, because we all know Scorpio Pluto energy to be, you know, very vengeful and want to get people back for stuff. But you can attract someone who's very vengeful towards you, but you can also be hella vengeful towards someone else, because your love is going to be very deep, all right, depending on the rest of your chart. But Pluto in this house makes you love very deeply, and your partners love you also very deeply, right? Sometimes it can bring, and this can be after like 15, 20 years, who knows, right? But sometimes it can bring divorce. Now, I'm not saying you people can't get married or whatever. Of course you can get married. Everyone can get married, okay? Now, when Pluto falls in this house, even if it's after 5 years, 25 years, 35, 45, 50 years of being married, okay, you end up having a divorce. It's very difficult to completely separate from that person, because Pluto being here creates a very intense partner. You'll separate from that person and you want to go about your business and go and keep it moving. However, that person's like, hell no, you ain't going to walk away from me that easily. I'm going to make life harder for you now. And this is where the vengefulness comes into play, because you as a 7th house person is not going to hold back to someone who's trying to get you. It's going to be going back and forth like tennis. Like, it can be that seriously, it can be that dangerous. And when Libra is in this house, it can bring a very dominating partner. And because Libra is all about, you know, I want to keep the bonds with people and my partners, and I feel at one with someone, you know, it can make that person, I mean, we can argue and say Libra can be like doormat kind of energy. And this is not for everybody, but this is how we speak in the community, okay? So don't get offended by that. but it can be seen that way, and this is why they attract a lot of dominating energy. So I kind of feel like you've got to be a little bit more on point when it comes to being a Libra, Pluto in the 7th house as well, because you are going to be hella prone to being around someone who wants to dominate you and has a very intense personality, and that's the energy that you have to stay away from. And this works exactly the same when it comes to your business partners, right? So going into business with other people, I wouldn't even recommend it, because things may be going so well right now, but they will turn sour over 10 years, 20 years, 2 weeks, who knows? It can turn sour very, very quickly, because Mars here, Pluto here, you're going to have problems with other people at some point, because this is the house of partnerships, house of other people. You know, this person could decide to make life very hard for you, purposely want to see you struggle. They could purposely want to take you to court, go through legal actions, because this is also the house of legal binding contracts as well. So overall, like, there's ways to deal with your Pluto in the 7th house. Like I said, like, the best thing to do is try not to be around people that are very, very intense, and learn to give people the benefit of the doubt before you judge them and say, no, that person's just not for me, or, you know, I don't trust it. I don't trust that person. Give people the benefit of the doubt, but try and stay away from very intense people, because when you're ready to break away from that person, you can walk away and do your thing, and that person is not going to be chasing after you, or making it very difficult for you to walk away from them. You just want to be free to do your own thing. So it's not all doom and gloom for 7th house Pluto people. However, there's just, do you know what? There's ways to work around everything in your chart. Trust me, there's ways to work around it. So never be offended or feel like your life is, you're destined for failure because of particular placements. Everyone has a ways of working around it. So that is my Pluto in the 7th house video. I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll see you next one, people. Take care.